While you were sleeping, India just became the world's fourth largest economy, and economists are calling it the beginning of the end of Western dominance. If you've ever wondered what happens when 1.4 billion people wake up economically, this is it. But there's something even more shocking that nobody's talking about. The numbers that just came out have made economic analysts lose sleep. India's GDP surpassed $4 trillion in 2025, officially overtaking Japan to become the world's fourth largest economy. But here's the kicker. India's economy grew 7.4% in the last quarter, while the US managed only 2.1%. China? They're struggling at 4.8%. But before we dive in, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment. I subscribe. And I'll personally welcome you into the family. With that said, let's get started. Let me tell you about Rajesh Kumar, a 28-year-old software engineer from Bangalore. 5 years ago, he was earning $300 a month working at a local call center, living in a cramped apartment with 3 roommates, eating rice and dal twice a day. His mother sold her jewelry to pay for his engineering degree. Today, he's making $80,000 annually working for Google, remotely from his hometown, in a house he bought for his parents. His monthly salary is more than what his father earned in 5 years as a rickshaw driver. But here's what's terrifying Western economists. This isn't just about one person. This is about 370 million young Indians, just like Rajesh. That's more young people than the entire population of the United States. While Japan loses 500,000 working-age people every year, India adds 12 million to its workforce. The demographic math is brutal for the West. In Germany, there are only 2.1 working-age people for every retiree. In Japan, 1.8. In India, there are 8.5 young workers for every senior citizen. Research shows India's demographic dividend contributes 1.9 percentage points to annual growth. That's like having a permanent economic steroid pumping through the country's bloodstream. Meet Priya Sharma from a small town in Rajasthan. She dropped out of college in 2019 to start a fintech company. Her family was devastated. Indian parents don't understand dropping out. Education is everything. Her neighbors whispered she was destroying her life. Her father didn't speak to her for 6 months. Today, her app that helps rural farmers get microloans has 5 million users and is valued at $50 million. She employs 400 people across 4 countries. Her father now introduces her as "my daughter, the CEO." But there's a hidden danger in this youth explosion. If India can't create 12 million new jobs every year, this demographic dividend becomes a demographic nightmare. Imagine 370 million educated, connected young people with smartphones but no opportunities. History shows us what happens when you have mass unemployment among educated youth. Egypt 2011, Iran 1979, Syria 2010. The difference? None of those countries had 1.4 billion people. That's when India's digital revolution exploded. In 2010, India's IT exports were worth $50 billion. Today, over $260 billion. That's bigger than the entire GDP of Ireland. But here's the crazy part. This growth isn't happening in big cities anymore. In Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, like Coimbatore, Kochi, and Indore, software engineers earn $40,000 a year while paying $200 a month for rent. In San Francisco, the same engineer pays $4,000 for a studio apartment. The math is simple. Indian talent is getting the same education, doing the same work, for 1/5 the cost while living like kings in their hometowns. Take Arjun Patel from Ahmedabad. He works for Microsoft, manages a team of 30 engineers across 3 continents, drives a BMW, owns 2 apartments, and travels internationally twice a year. His total monthly expenses, $800. His American counterpart in Seattle spends more than that on rent alone. The infrastructure boom is mind-blowing. India adds 40 kilometers of highway every single day. That's 14,600 kilometers per year. Enough to connect New York to Los Angeles 4 times over. The Mumbai-Delhi freight corridor reduces transport time from 5 days to 14 hours. The Delhi Metro carries more passengers daily than the entire London Underground system. But here's where it gets personal. Remember Amit Patel, the tomato farmer from Maharashtra? His village didn't even have proper roads 5 years ago. Trucks couldn't reach his farm. He lost 60% of his crop to spoilage. Today, an 8-lane expressway connects his village directly to Mumbai's wholesale markets. Travel time, 90 minutes instead of 8 hours. His income jumped from $2,000 a year to $15,000. His son, who was planning to move to Mumbai and work in a factory, now wants to expand the farm and export to Dubai. India's digital payment revolution makes this even crazier. A vegetable vendor in rural Karnataka accepts payments through Google Pay. A rickshaw driver in Delhi has a QR code. In 2025, India processed 131 billion digital transactions worth $4.6 trillion. That's more digital payments than the US and China combined. Meera Devi sells vegetables in a small market in Uttar Pradesh. She's 45, never went to school, can barely read Hindi. But she has a smartphone and processes 200 digital payments daily. Her teenage daughter showed her how to use UPI. Now she tracks inventory through WhatsApp, gets weather updates for farming, and has saved $5,000 in a bank account she opened through her phone. Financial inclusion that took America 50 years happened in India in 5 years. The global power shift is real. For 200 years, the richest countries were in Europe and North America. That's ending. If current trends continue, India's GDP will exceed the US by 2073. But here's the scary part for the West. It might happen much faster. Sarah Chen found out the hard way. She's a 35-year-old marketing director from San Francisco, MBA from Stanford, 12 years of experience at top firms. Last year, her company restructured. Her new boss, Vikram Sharma, 28 years old, from IT Delhi. He manages the entire Asia-Pacific region from Bangalore. His salary is lower than Sarah's, but his purchasing power is triple. He owns a 3-bedroom apartment in the city center, has a full-time maid, a driver, and saves 60% of his income. Sarah lives paycheck to paycheck in a studio apartment. The brain drain is reversing. For 50 years, India's brightest minds left for American universities and never came back. Now they're returning. Sundar Pichai's success isn't just inspiring. It's proving you can build global empires from India. Razorpay, Flipkart, Byju's, Paytm. These aren't just Indian companies anymore. They're global giants founded by Indians who chose to stay. Rohul Agarwal studied at MIT, worked at Goldman Sachs for 5 years, earned $300,000 annually. In 2022, he moved back to Gurgaon to start a cryptocurrency exchange. Today, his company is worth $2 billion. He lives in a penthouse that would cost $10 million in Manhattan, but cost him $800,000. He has a chef, a driver, domestic help, and his children go to international schools that rival anything in America. His quality of life is better than when he lived in New York. But India's secret weapon isn't just cheap labor, it's innovation. Indian engineers aren't just coding for Silicon Valley anymore. They're creating solutions the world has never seen. Jugaad innovation, making more with less, is becoming a global management philosophy. Take the Mars mission. NASA's Mars mission cost $671 million. India's Mangalyaan mission cost $74 million, less than the budget of the movie Gravity. It reached Mars on its first attempt, something only India has achieved. The entire mission cost less than what Americans spend on coffee in a single day. WhatsApp has 500 million users in India, more than in any other country. But Indians didn't just adopt WhatsApp, they revolutionized it. WhatsApp Pay, WhatsApp Business, group features, status updates. Most innovations came from understanding Indian user behavior. Now these features are global standards. The manufacturing surge is just beginning. China's manufacturing wages have increased 12x since 2000. Vietnam and Thailand are getting expensive. India is becoming the world's factory. Apple now makes 7% of its iPhones in India. Samsung makes more phones in India than in South Korea. Tesla is building its largest factory outside America in Gujarat. Ravi Krishnan worked in a textile mill in Tamil Nadu, earning $200 a month. The mill closed in 2018 when Chinese competition got too strong. He was devastated. 3 generations of his family worked in textiles. Today, he's a quality control manager at a Samsung factory, earning $800 a month, with health insurance, provident fund, and annual bonuses. His daughter is studying computer engineering and wants to work for Apple at their Indian facility. The startup ecosystem is exploding. India now has 108 unicorns, companies worth over $1 billion. 5 years ago, there were 10. Bengaluru has more engineering graduates than Silicon Valley. The cost of starting a tech company in India is 90% lower than in the US, but the potential market is 3 times larger. Ankit Bhatti and Bhavish Agarwal started Ola from a small office in Bangalore with $50,000. Today, Ola operates in 250 cities across 6 countries and is worth $7 billion. They didn't just copy Uber, they understood Indian customers better. Auto rickshaw integration, cash payments, regional language support, and shared rides. Now, Uber studies Ola's playbook for emerging markets. But there's a dark side nobody talks about. Despite this incredible growth, 47% of Indians still work in agriculture, earning less than $2 a day. The rural-urban divide is widening. Climate change threatens 600 million farmers. Water scarcity affects 200 million people. Air pollution in Delhi is 10 times worse than safe levels. The education system is cracking under pressure. India needs 40,000 new schools and 2 million teachers. Healthcare infrastructure serves only 30% of the population adequately. Income inequality is at levels not seen since British colonial rule. The richest 1% own 73% of the wealth. Rohit Sharma graduated with an engineering degree in 2023. Despite the tech boom, he's been unemployed for 18 months. His college promised placement, but the job market is brutal. For every software engineering position, there are 50 applicants. He lives with his parents, drives Uber to pay for interview travel, and wonders if his degree was worth the family's life savings. Labor force participation is only 50.2%, meaning half of working-age Indians aren't contributing to this growth story. Women's participation is even worse at 23%. That's 400 million people sitting on the sidelines of the world's fastest-growing major economy. McKinsey warns India has exactly 28 years left to capitalize on its demographic dividend. After that, the population starts aging like China and Japan. The window is narrow. Miss it, and India becomes the world's largest middle-income trap. The geopolitical implications are staggering. America has been the world's largest economy for 130 years. China briefly challenged that but is now slowing down. India could be different. Unlike China's authoritarian model, India is democratic, English-speaking, and naturally aligned with Western values while maintaining strategic autonomy. The US-China trade war has accelerated India's rise. Companies are desperately looking for alternatives to Chinese manufacturing. India offers political stability, rule of law, English proficiency, and a massive domestic market. Apple, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft are betting billions on India, not just as a market, but as a production base for the world. Smart money is already moving. Warren Buffett bought stakes in Paytm and other Indian companies. BlackRock has committed $30 billion to Indian infrastructure. Singapore's sovereign wealth fund has made India its largest investment destination outside Singapore. But here's what scares American policymakers. India isn't just becoming an economic power, it's becoming a technological superpower. Indian companies now have more US patents than German or Japanese companies. IITs produce more engineers than MIT, Stanford, and Caltech combined. The brain circulation has begun. Indians aren't just taking jobs from Americans, they're creating jobs for Americans. Indian companies employ over 400,000 Americans directly. Infosys alone has hired 25,000 Americans since 2017. However, this success story has three critical vulnerabilities that could derail everything. First, environmental collapse. India has 14 of the world's 20 most polluted cities. Climate change could reduce GDP by 24% by 2070. Second, social unrest. Growing inequality could trigger massive protests like we saw in Sri Lanka. Third, infrastructure bottlenecks. Despite massive investments, Indian infrastructure still can't handle this growth pace. The next 5 years will determine whether India becomes a superpower or hits a middle-income wall like Brazil and Mexico. The demographic dividend expires soon. The infrastructure needs are massive. The environmental challenges are existential. But if India succeeds, the global order changes forever. A democratic, diverse, English-speaking nation of 1.4 billion people becoming the world's largest economy would reshape everything: trade, technology, culture, and geopolitics. So here's my question. Would you bet against 1.4 billion people who are hungry, young, digitally connected, and democratically empowered? Or is this the moment you start learning Hindi and investing in India's rise? Because in 10 years, this decision might determine whether you're riding the wave or watching it pass you by. Drop a comment below. Are you positioning yourself for India's century, or are you still betting on the old world order? The clock is ticking, and history is watching.